Okay, welcome to this exclusive special offering from Mission First Alliance on marketing. And I just appreciate Teresa Jones with Z25 Marketing, who also is our Mission First Alliance Marketing Director, just to be able to share a short presentation here, to be able to interact with Alliance members and just offer this support to some of the organizations supporting first responders around the country. She is a wealth of knowledge. She has done so much for us in terms of our website and overall marketing plan and strategy, philosophy. Just so appreciate her approach and her expertise and her wisdom. So I'll just turn it over to Teresa, let her give her presentation, and at the end to be able to interact with anyone that's on this meeting and might have specific questions.
All right. Thank you, Jeremy. That sounds great. I'm very excited to be here today and be sharing with you guys. My hope and my prayer is that I'll be able to share with you some information that will help you to be able to share your mission better and to meet the goals that you have to do the work the Lord's called you to do. So, we're going to talk today about marketing that builds trust. So let me know in the chat, or since it's just us, Eric, feel free to turn on your microphone and tell me if any of these things sound like you or if you're feeling this way. I know I have a calling, a mission, a goal, but I don't know how to share that with others clearly. I know how I want to help others, but I don't know how to communicate that with others. Or I hate to market myself or my ministry because it's not about me, but I long to help more people. So if any of those sound like you're in the right place. That's what we're going to talk about today. So, welcome. I'm Teresa. I've had about 20 years of experience working in marketing, done a little bit of fundraising, and with that came a little bit of wisdom. So, I'm just hoping to share a little bit of that wisdom with you today. And hopefully, we'll help you get out of the weeds of all those blog posts and training videos that they offer for free and then try to sell you something and get you something actionable to do. Because I know we're all sick to death of wasting our time with all those blog posts and videos that in the end, they just want to sell you something and you didn't have anything to do. So, first and foremost, let's talk about what marketing really is. Marketing is communication that leads to connection, period. It's not manipulation, it's not tricking people. It's literally learning how to communicate in a way that builds a connection that helps your ministry or your business to grow. What it isn't is promotions. It isn't manipulation. It's serving people well using intentional communication that will help lead to that communication that we're talking about, that connection. The simple truth is that people can't be helped by a ministry that they don't know exists. And so my goal is to help people know that you exist, find your services, and support your cause. And we're going to start that with your elevator pitch. The very first thing that every ministry needs to start with is how can you share your ministry effectively in 1 minute or less, the time that it takes to travel one floor on an elevator. So if you can't concisely share your calling and your ministry, what you do, who you serve, how you do it in 1 minute or less, this is a workshop that's going to help you at least start to move there. So, your elevator pitch formula, you're going to talk about who you are, who you help, what you offer, why it matters, and then you can include an optional invitation, a call to action, a question to open the conversation. And so, what that might look like as an example here. Hi, I'm Anna with Grace Behind the Badge. I support first responder families with prayer and faith-based tools to stay strong together. When families thrive, first responders do too. Did you know that first responder divorce rates are nearly 75%? So do you see how that elevator pitch tells exactly what you do, who you serve, how you do that, why it matters, and it opens the door to a conversation to invite them in, because that's all about communication. So our next thing I wanted us to do is to give you the task of letting you start crafting your elevator pitch. So I want to give you about 5 minutes. I want you to think these things through and see if you can put together something. It doesn't have to be polished or perfect, but to walk through the steps of that. Now, Erica, since you're the one who's on today, if you've already gotten your elevator pitch and that's not helpful to you, just either throw us a note in the comment or turn your mic on and let us know that you have that. If you have your elevator pitch and you just want to share it and see if I have any tips to maybe make it better, I'm happy to do that as well.
Yeah, I would say I don't know that I've got mine polished. I think I'm still working through just how to really communicate that in a couple sentences or um, but it's something that's a work in progress.
Okay, so where are you in that process?
Certainly know who we are, who we help. I know for the most part what we currently are offering,
Mhm.
although that I don't want that to be too specific or too general. So that's where I'm trying to be real clear on that. And just on the optional invitation. I don't know that I do that incredibly well. I think there was the one of the slides that you had, the third reason that people don't share or share well. Just the the desire for it to not be about me is pretty
Mhm.
strong in me.
Yeah.
So I think that's in part where I would struggle the most.
I think that that is a very valid thing that anyone who God has called to ministry struggles with is that idea of I feel like I'm promoting myself, especially if you're the only one doing it or you're not part of a team yet and so you're just kind of starting it out. That's very valid and it shows that you've got the heart of humility that God looks for in people that he chooses to serve. So it's very very common to do that. And I would say that optional invitation or a call to action or a question to open the conversation, turn the conversation away from you and either about the first responders that you want to serve or how that person is. So depending on like who you come into contact with, let's say you're wearing your heroic deeds t-shirt and someone says, hey, what's that about? And you start telling them, then that optional conversation or that way that you can draw them in after you say, well, this is heroic deeds, here's what we do, here's what we offer, here's why that matters, then maybe you ask, do you know a police officer, a firefighter who might benefit from our services, or kind of gauge the way they're responding. The idea is that you want to turn it into a conversation if you're on one-on-one. If you're doing your elevator pitch at a presentation, obviously that's a little different. And I usually say to people that optional invitation, question, call to action at the end needs to just move to the next place that you're going if you're the only one speaking. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Is that in any way helpful?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just solidifying. I just need to get some of these things clarified and much more polished.
Would you like to take a moment and work on it a little bit, or is that something you're working on your own? Would it be helpful to have that for your meeting tomorrow?
Um, no, it's more internal tomorrow.
Okay.
So it's not where I'll be making a pitch. It's with our own team. So
Okay. Well, at the end
I'm
of
fine to move forward.
cool. At the end of this, you'll have my contact information. If you want to send me what you've got and let me look over it, I'll be happy to send you some feedback.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. So I don't know what we'll do with recording on this, Jeremy, but I'm just going to move on. Okay, so choosing your platforms. Choosing where your audience hangs out is really important. I know a lot of people say, I got to get the word out there. Social media is free. I got to get out there and do it all. And it's one of the biggest mistakes that people make is trying to be everywhere all at once. When one, you're still learning the platform for a lot of us. And two, you're still trying to figure out how to get that out there. So my recommendation is always to start smaller. I gave you a little bit of information here on this slide when you're choosing your platforms. Of which platforms are where, what they're good for. Facebook is probably always either Facebook or LinkedIn are my go-tos to tell people where to start. And it just depends on the personality of the person and the how you want to present your ministry as to which would work best. Facebook's great for community storytelling, videos, events. They have the largest audience They have the longest use times. People are on there longer, and they're the easiest place to link information back to your website, back to your other social media platforms. Instagram's great for visuals, encouragement reels. YouTube is fabulous for video testimonies, devotionals. They have the second largest search engine besides Google that exists. And so they're always a great place to show up if you've got some content that's good there. LinkedIn is fabulous for networking, partnerships, professional relationships, and they lend a lot more credibility. There's a lot more trust that goes into LinkedIn than to any other platform because of the vetting process to be on there, because people will recommend or recommend you for, and they will acknowledge that you're good at the skills that you have or that you are who you say you are. So if trust is an issue with your audience, which we all know is an issue with first responders, LinkedIn is always a good place to start. But my recommendation for growing your platforms is start with one, choose one, get consistent on that one, and then expand. And always do it intentionally. And remember that the goal is building connections, not growing numbers. So you're not trying to say, I'll get on Facebook, and when my audience gets to 500 people, then I'll add another one. The ideal is once you're on one platform and you recognize and are successful at building connections on it, then expand to the next one and learn to build connections there, and then grow to the next one. Always keep the purpose in mind. It's not about doing what everyone says you're supposed to be doing. It's about doing what's working and what's growing those connections. And it's okay to go at your own pace. And obviously, if you've got somebody on staff or on your team or a volunteer that's fabulous at one of these things, definitely utilize that. The next question that I always run into with after we've decided what platform we're going to be on is, what do we put there? So let's say you decide you're going to start with Facebook. Well, what are you going to say on Facebook? How often you're going to say it? And so here are my tips on how to create meaningful content that leads to connection. Say something when you have something to say, not because it's Monday and you're supposed to post every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If you don't have anything on Monday to share, don't share it. Be strategic. And what I mean by that is not manipulative, but to be intentional. Share a core story or a message in multiple ways so that you can create more content from it. By that, what I mean is, if you have a success story that you're putting together and you've got a video testimonial, take that video testimonial, use a free resource to grab a transcript from it. You can turn that into a blog post. You can turn that into social media graphics and content that you can share on those, so that one core idea can become multiple pieces of content, thereby taking a lot off of your plate because you don't have to come up with all the ideas. The biggest thing that we find, even with people that are professional social media marketers, is that the content grind is the thing that burns us out, trying to come up with the thing to say next. And so that's why if you take one core idea and utilize that in multiple places, it helps relieve that fatigue. And it also makes it a whole lot faster when you have limited resources and limited time. So here I've got a slide that talks about your message math. One idea can equal weeks of content so that you don't get caught in that grind. So the idea is that you take one idea and turn that into a blog post, a podcast episode, a social media post, video. You can connect it to an event that's coming up. And so I do that a lot with all of my clients that I serve right now, helping them take content and create from it other content for their social media platforms, for their website, etc. So how do you do that exactly? Simplest way to do it. If you're just starting, you don't have any paid subscriptions to any of these things, here's how you do that really, really easily and quickly. Let's say you're driving down the road or you've been in a meeting and you've got an idea. Pull out your phone, record a video of yourself, or record a voice memo of your idea. Then take that into otter.ai, which has a free subscription, plug it in there, and it'll turn it into a transcription. So now you've got all the words. You can then take that transcription and put it into ChatGPT, which is also free, and it'll help you polish it. It'll help you turn it into a blog. It'll suggest recommended social media posts or captions for it. You can even ask it to suggest the kind of images that you'd like to post that would go well with it. You can then go into Canva, which also has free use, and create graphics to go along with your social media post. And then you can go in and schedule them. Let's say if you're using Facebook, you can go into Meta Business Suite and schedule those posts out for the next couple of weeks on the platform that you want it to go out to, and then you're done. It'll just automatically post. You've now spent probably somewhere around 2 hours, but you've got 2 to 3 weeks worth of content finished. So that sounds like a game changer. So our second task today is to let you walk through that process of multiplying your message. So idea is that you'll find one core story or one message, outline what you would say on a voice memo. For the sake of time, you don't have to record it. You can just write down a few phrases of what you would do. Open up ChatGPT, throw it in there, and ask it to create a blog post social media caption for you. Then use ChatGPT to recommend social media captions and media. Make a list of what all you'll create and where you'll post it. And then you could walk away with 3 weeks worth of content, up to 3 weeks worth of content already planned out just from that 5-minute task.
So Teresa, what are people mostly using for blog posts these days?
In all honesty, what I generally do even when I'm writing a blog post and I'm a writer, I generally will take my content ideas, my core values of what I want to share, like the core pieces, type that in an outline form, even with just phrases in it, and I'll throw it up into ChatGPT and say, help me write a blog post. And here's the topic, suggest titles for it. Here are the main points, break it down into headers, give it those directions, and it will throw out a blog post. I open it up. If I don't like the header, the title that it gives me, I'll tell it to suggest 3 others. I'll go through and edit it. And usually I can have a blog post written in about 15 minutes.
What platform are most people using to share them on?
Most people are sharing them on their websites. WordPress has a great free blog. You can do free blogs on a WordPress site without paying for an actual website build, if that's something you want to do. I think they still do that anyway. It's been a hot minute since I've done a free blog post. Most of the people that I know are sharing those on their websites, but you also can do things through Reddit. You can share those even through, like, if you have a Facebook page, you can share blog posts because it'll let you do very long text. You can share all that content in one caption or a couple of social media posts and still share all that same content. Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely.
Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. I am a big WordPress fan. I'm not a huge fan of other content builder or other website builders that are out there. So that's probably always going to be the thing I'm going to go back to recommending. But WordPress does require, if you build a website, that you have a host. And it's a little more involved. It's not as user friendly as some of the other things are, but you do get to own it. It's all yours, and it's not going to be taken away or put down if, say, Squarespace goes out of business or something.
Yeah.
So that's usually my go-to on that.
Okay.
Any other questions about this idea of taking one core message or one core story and how you can use that to create additional content?
Nope, makes perfect sense.
Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is your website, since we've just talked about websites. Website must-haves. I do build websites for clients, and everybody always wants to say, what all should I include? How many pages should it have? There is no right or wrong answer to how many pages or how big your website should be. It depends on how much information you have to share, what kind of services or resources that you're offering, and what it takes to communicate that clearly. So the big things that are your website must-haves is it has to clearly say what your mission is. That elevator speech expanded, but it needs to be very clear. It needs to have your contact information in a way that's easy. So if it's got a phone number, make sure if someone's looking at your website on mobile, they can click that phone number and it actually calls you. If it has a link for an email, make sure that's a clickable link, not just text, because people only do what's easy, unfortunately. It's just the nature of people. And so making it easy for them helps them overcome obstacles. I always tell people that the harder you make it, it's like asking people, in old school church, when folks would be like, if you want to get saved, you have to come up to the altar to do so. So now you've made it harder. They've got to walk up in front of everyone and overcome all that pride. At the same time, they're just trying to submit their life to the Lord. And I think that just makes it harder. So I always tell people, like, let's remove the aisle. Don't make them walk the aisle to actually reach out for help,
Mm.
because really all we need to get saved is to talk to Jesus, right? We don't have to be in front of the church.
Mm.
Um, and so make everything clickable, make everything easy for them to do. If you've got resources or testimonials of people who've used your resources, include that, because people want to see that other people are finding value and getting help. And people also want to see what you're offering. So resources can be your services. It could be how you deliver those services. It could be free stuff. Um, and then the last thing you want to make sure you include is how they can support, how they can donate, how they can volunteer. You can do that on one page. You can do it on 4 pages, as many as you want, as long as you make sure that it's there, because you want to have a place where they can connect with you. And the last thing I think I skipped was your email sign up. I know a lot of people are like, I'm not really interested in doing email. But when people come to your website, they may not send you a contact form, but they might sign up for your email. And that is a way to start beginning a relationship, a connection of some sort. They're probably not going to, if they sign up for email, they're probably not going to ask for your services immediately. They're probably not going to donate immediately or volunteer immediately. But what they're saying is I want to learn more, and it gives you an opportunity to grow that relationship.
Mm.
Um, how do we build trust online, whether we're talking about social media or on your website? The first thing that you want to do is you want to show real people. I know we've talked a little bit about AI and how we can use AI and it be helpful. But I highly recommend that you show real people as much as you can. I understand from working with Mission First Alliance how tricky that can be when we're talking about first responders, because there's just a whole lot of issues that go into that. Um, but if you can, show real people. Um, the other thing is that you want to make sure that you share honest stories. It doesn't mean that you have to tell everything about everyone in the story. Obviously, use discretion, but share honest stories, not something that's made up or fabricated just because it's good marketing. Um, the next thing is make sure you avoid all this hypey language, the cutesy catchphrases, because they are quickly viewed as inauthentic by your audience. I actually just had a conversation recently about like, we want to do member Mondays. Do we want to call it member Mondays, or do we want to just like call it that in-house, because we know on Mondays we're going to talk about members, and the pros and cons of each. And I really feel like in this day and age, people are so wise to marketing that is manipulation, that if you go that direction, it tends to be viewed very, very much like it's inauthentic. So I always just tell people, just kind of avoid it. It's not necessary. It doesn't really, any benefit that you might get from it will never outweigh the cons of using it, in my opinion. And then the last one is be responsive, warm, and clear. You want to make sure if people reach out that you respond. Don't leave it out there for a long time. In our society, people really expect very prompt responses. And I don't think that the promptness of the response is nearly as important as the fact that you respond. Obviously, you don't want it to be 2 weeks before you respond, but it certainly doesn't have to be within 24 hours, which is what most of the blog posts and videos that tell you how to do your marketing will suggest is necessary. That's usually somebody wanting to sell you their services, so they will respond that quickly for them because they know you don't have time. In the real world, especially in the ministry world, there's a little bit more grace. Make sure that you're always warm and very clear with those responses. And make sure that you're using consistent voice and visuals. And by that, I'm talking about your branding. So match whatever your ministry branding is in that in those responses. So if you do get a volunteer or someone to help you out, make sure you've trained them so that they can use your voice and your branding in their responses. Any questions about that, of how to build trust or how to build an online presence?
No, not at all. I think, what we're at, we've got a brand and a sub brand, or we've got two different brands and currently the same website. So we're kind of debating how to keep those linked because they are linked, but yet have some separate spaces to do that. So
Okay. That sounds really tricky. So if you've got some specific questions that you want to ask about that at the end, if we don't cover, be, I'm happy to try to help figure some of that out for you if I can.
awesome. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Okay, next we want to talk about our intro with, sorry for the typo, intro to lead generation. So a lot of times we hear a lot about marketing in marketing, what lead generation is. And I personally, for a long time, even didn't like, I just don't even like the terminology. But what lead generation simply means is starting a relationship with somebody who might need or support your ministry so that you can serve them more personally over time. It's not about collecting emails for numbers sake. Like I hear a lot of people say, oh, my lead gen, we've got, has manufactured a lead list or an email list of 600 people. It doesn't matter how many people are on it. It matters more that it's effectively leading to connections. So it's about building a bridge of trust and value that lets somebody say, yeah, I want to stay connected to you. I want to be a part of what you're doing. So lead generation and funnels, it's like inviting somebody to church. You don't shove them in the sanctuary. You smile at the door, you give them a bulletin, maybe you offer them a seat, and you let them settle in. That's basically what a funnel is. It's the digital version of hospitality. Um, so truth check. We hear a lot about funnels, and they get so they're cold. It feels cold. It feels manipulative. It feels like here's something I'm going to give you away free, so you'll give me my email address. But the truth check here is that the funnel isn't a trick. It's simply a path to deeper relationship. You're not manipulating anyone. You're just inviting them to go a little deeper. And you're doing that by offering value first, not asking for something first. And you're letting them take the next step on their timeline. I actually like to recommend, some people disagree with me. I like to recommend what's called permission-based marketing, which means I have a free resource. I'm going to give it to you free. I'd love it if you give me your email address too, but it's not required. You can actually get the free resource or whatever it is that you're offering without that. A lot of people don't agree with me on that. They think if you've done the work to build the free thing that you should ask for it, ask for them to give you something back. It's a personal call. I don't necessarily know that it's right or wrong. I just know for me, I prefer it to be something that we give you. And then if you'd like to stay connected, we'd love your information. So let's talk about the conversation funnel. So a funnel is basically just a map on how somebody moves from their first hearing about your ministry to getting more deeply involved in your ministry. The first thing is awareness. They're going to see a post, or they're going to hear about you somewhere. Maybe they saw a t-shirt. Maybe they were part of that elevator speech. Then they're going to have some interest. They're going to follow up. They're going to visit your website. They're going to go find you on social media. Then you've got engagement. They're going to download a free resource. They're going to sign up for something. They're going to like or share or click on a post. That leads us to a connection. So and in that connection, whether they've signed up through an email list, decided to follow you and engage with you there, they're going to start receiving regular encouragement and news that will lead to them either receiving support directly, them becoming a donor, them becoming a volunteer. And so it really is just deeper levels of relationship that you're growing to. So that mindset of marketing is manipulation, it's tricking people, it's growing numbers. It's really, really not. It's really just engaging people and doing it in a smart way. So our next task for today is about creating a lead generation. So I gave you some examples. Some things that different people do. You can do a free downloadable prayer guide. So let's say you create a prayer guide on how to pray for your ministry audience. That actually is, it's a great value tool. It makes sure that you're getting the right person. Like, you could give away a free iPad. The people who will sign up for a free iPad are not necessarily going to be people who care about your ministry. You'll get a lot of leads, but they won't be the right leads. If you do the free downloadable prayer guide, though, that kind of fits more in the wheelhouse of what people are looking for. They can sign up for it, give you their email address, and then in your email marketing, you'll send out maybe a monthly newsletter. Maybe you send out a quarterly newsletter. However you work, whatever your email marketing is, which we won't have time to really get into a lot today unless you've got specific questions. You could also do like a devotional series that you send out via email. Or you could put together a resource kit. Let's say you are helping put together rest stops at churches for first responders and you want to create a resource kit. The resource kit could be anything from an actual box of supplies that you send them, or just a PDF that has a checklist of things they need to gather or create or do, or tips. So, do you see how the lead generation can become a way to engage people meaningfully by giving them something of value and then letting them, based on their decision, decide if they want to connect with you to gain more information?
Yes.
Okay. You have any questions about lead generation tools, funnels, how all that works?
Nope. I think it makes
Okay.
sense.
All right. Doing more with less. Big thing, especially in ministries when budget is and time limits are issues. How do we do more with less? First thing I always tell people is create batch content. Let's say you want to make sure that you send out on your social media. You want to do a weekly encouragement. Maybe you share a scripture. Create those in batches. Schedule them all at once. You can put together a week's worth of encouragement, and if you need help, you can even put that into to the aids that we talked about with ChatGPT and say, create 3 social media posts all focused on Romans, because that's what we're doing in a Bible study, and it'll crank that stuff out for you. I do recommend that you edit it and that you research it, because I have done that before and gotten back some scriptures that were wrong. So
Yeah.
highly recommend you edit it, like proof it really well, but it can help you a lot with some ideas. Repurpose everything. Find a handful of templates that work for you, match your branding, and use them repeatedly. It's completely okay. People don't mind. The point is your ministry that's serving and sharing information, growing awareness, whatever the purpose of your post is. Um, it's the content that matters, not necessarily what it looks like. So don't try to reinvent the wheel with every single post. A lot of people think, oh, well, I've got to share something different that's interesting. But really, I find that your true audience doesn't care nearly so much about whether or not you have fresh graphics every single post you make. It's more about, is it quality? Is it building connection? Is it building relationship? Is it serving my purpose? Um, Next one, use the free resources. Got a list of those coming up on our next couple of slides. Recruit volunteers. And if you recruit volunteers or you have people who say, I really want to help, make yourself take the time to get them involved. It is time consuming. Sometimes it feels like more to come up with something for them to do than they are helpful. But if you start them in that hard place of, I'm trying to find something that you can do, it helps you build relationships with them better. I always tell people that it's really important that you find everyone's best seat on the bus and that everyone's on the right seat on the bus. But the first thing you got to do is actually get them on the bus. So get them doing something, if even if that's not the best thing, so that they stay connected and involved. The fifth tip, doing more with less, is done is greater than perfect. We so often get stuck in, oh, but this is the way it has to be done, or this is my vision, or this is the way that it should be done. This is the perfect way to do it. This is what the blog post or the courses that I did said to do it. But really, done is better than perfect. Sharing something is better than sharing nothing. Um, and then the last one is set goals. Weekly mini goals, monthly goals, quarterly goals, yearly goals, all the goals, set goals, because it's so important to keep you moving forward. Here's some free tools that'll save you some time. All of these have free options, won't cost you a penny. The learning curve is pretty easy to get through on most of these. Canva's great for graphics. Otter.ai is great for transcripts, especially if you're doing audio. If you're doing videos and you want transcripts of those, especially if you're using YouTube, YouTube does a free transcript. Once you upload a video, you can get a transcript from it. I love ChatGPT because it's free. It's gotten so much better since it was first out there. It's great for captions. It'll help you write emails. It'll help you with blogs. Um, I love Meta Business Suite for scheduling social media posts on Facebook and Instagram. Don't recommend any other outside schedulers, especially those that you have to pay for subscriptions for Instagram and Facebook, because it actually hurts your algorithms. You actually will, your post will be seen less because it's being posted by a third party poster. So if you're going to schedule them out, my recommendation is use Meta Business Suite for that. Free email tools, MailChimp is actually my favorite one, but that's really just because that's the one I use the most. MailerLite is also really good. Both of them have free email tools up to a certain level of audience. So if you're just growing your audience, those are great places to start. If you are looking for photos, I know we talked about how you want to use unique, original, real people photos as much as you can, but sometimes we know that you need something else. So unsplash.com or pexels.com are both great places to get free photos. Just watch what you're using. Some of them out there, especially on Unsplash, have started being used a lot. So just kind of notice if you start seeing something that looks like everybody else's page, then don't take the first thing that comes up in the search. Go to like page 3 and choose some of those images. That's basically it. What are your questions today?
Just back to that last one.
Mhm.
So so things like Hootsuite, which I don't even know if that's dated anymore or not, but those kind of things you would not recommend.
I do not. And the reason why is because Facebook, Instagram, especially any Meta Suite product, they actually dock your reach. Like they will tell you that if you post with a third party poster, that you will reach less people. And it's already hard enough to get organic reach without paying for ads on social media. And so those are just shooting yourself in the foot. Less people are going to see it.
Yeah.
And,
Imagine.
and most of them cost money. So you're paying to be heard less. If you have a Facebook or an Instagram account, Meta Business Suite is free. So you don't pay for it and it won't dock you.
Okay.
The very best thing, if you have the capacity to do it, is always posting live. Not live as in going live on a video, but like posting in the moment from your phone or from your computer. Those are always the best ones to get the most reach. If you are using Facebook or Instagram, stories and reels go farther than general posts. So if you really, but make sure that you save those stories. As you know, are only up for 24 hours and then they disappear. Um, but you actually will get more engagement. You'll get more people seeing it and responding to it if it's in stories. So
Mm,
I
okay.
always tell people to do both. And if you're scheduling in MetaSuite, you can tell it to send it to all, to both Facebook, to Instagram, and to stories. It's not the best practice to do the same post from Facebook to Instagram, but it can be done. Be careful if you are deciding to do both Facebook and Instagram. There's a tool inside MetaSuite where you can turn it on so that the you customize each of the captions for each one. Say, for instance, in your caption, you put in there, visit us on our website for more information and include a link. That's great on Facebook. They can click that link and it'll take them there. On Instagram, that's just text. And it's
Yeah.
actually really annoying to a person who's reading it for you to include a URL that they can't click.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense.
Any other questions?
I think that just the big one that I would have would just be advice on just where we are with our website and how to have two brands that are connected, both marketed well.
Are the two brands that are connected, like, is it two branches of the same ministry or is it two separate ministries that are merging?
It's two brands under the same umbrella. So with Heroic Deeds, historically, it's been a single event annually for first responders and their spouses.
Uh-huh.
Although that's starting to expand to more than just annually.
Okay.
Um, and then we've started Heroic Deeds Chaplain, which is going to be year-round, always running, nationwide type ministry. So the chaplain functionally is going to become much bigger than the original brand of Heroic Deeds, as far as the work that it's doing, the amount that it's communicating, the results it's getting. The main brand has always been Heroic Deeds, though, not necessarily Heroic Deeds Chaplain.
I see. And so, since Heroic Deeds is the event has gotten the following, are you using some of that following to piggyback and to launch chaplains, or is it just totally different?
Um, it, we're going to talk about some of that tomorrow. Getting access to all of that. We've just started to use Constant Contact. So I'm a spreadsheet junkie. So being able to get those lists clarified, categorized, tagged, and all of that sort of thing is has been started. But we're going to have really probably by the end of next year, probably tens of thousands of contacts because that's going to include every first responder agency in multiple states. Um,
Hmm.
and, and then we're also going to have for the chaplains, we're going to have who those chaplains are in each of those states. So it's going to be there's going to be a lot of tags
Yeah.
uh, within all of that to get it all straight. But yeah, I think that I would not say that we're using the current contacts for Heroic Deeds to launch Heroic Deeds Chaplain. I've got a list, at least in Ohio,
Hmm.
of about 300 chaplains we're starting with
Okay.
that I'm bringing into what we're doing.
Yeah. I probably would market all of it under Heroic Deeds. And on a way to clarify that is, what's your URL for your website?
It's heroicdeeds.org.
Okay, that's perfect because then you can do on your website, you can on heroicdeeds.org, it can either be both. And you could even do a thing where one is the event and one is the chaplaincy, and your homepage literally just lets them like choose a path, like a choose your own adventure book. Whichever is the thing that you're interested in, click here for this one, click here for that one. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's probably where I was leaning, but we've
Mhm.
got some work to do to clean all that up.
Yeah. I understand that it can get really complicated really quickly, especially when what you're expanding to and then the next place you're going is a little bit, it's the same genre of work, but it's a different audience that you're actually speaking to grow that. Um, and so in there's some overlap, but it's
Yeah.
in essence, it's a different audience. So yeah, that could get tricky.
Yeah, I would add to that, Eric, just the messaging is so important. And I think that you guys will hopefully be able to fine tune, the different lanes and the different audiences and the different messaging, based on what your what your goals are what you're trying to do, what your
Yeah.
outcomes are, like what you're actually trying to do. I just feel like as we've gone through this, to have like a 7 word or less tagline seems easy. That feels like that's the hardest thing in the world to do. To
Yeah.
have that like simple message, that like couple sentence, elevator pitch seems so simple. Like when you hear someone else's, but for like each organization to actually work through that and get to that and achieve that, like is so much work. Like there's so much work that goes in behind the scenes to that. But it's like once you have that clear message, then it's like you can just share it over and over and over again, and it shares exactly what you're doing and who you are and who you're trying to reach and how you're trying to do it. And then I think you might have a separate message within, the different brand, sub-brand, and kind of
Mhm.
what you guys are doing within the overall heroic deeds mission.
Yeah. I agree with what Jeremy just said. Finding a way to have that one heroic deeds encapsulated, the event and the chaplains. This is our goal. This is our heart. This is what we're doing. This is how each one of these pieces is doing that. And then it's almost like you'd need a heroic deeds. This is what heroic deeds all in all does. Here are the two umbrellas through which we do that, and specifically how we do it through each of those things. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yep. I'm taking notes now. So yeah,
No,
absolutely.
no, that's fine. If you get to the place that you need a consultation, or if you don't have anybody on your team that can help walk you through that process, please reach out to me. Um, I'd be more than happy to help walk you through that process and offer any kind of insight that I can.
Okay. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I think Eric, where you guys are at, even more than website or content and blog and kind of that filling that funnel and getting engagement. I think that that's going to be a big piece for you guys to work through in this transition, because then it'll just be uh, clear to everyone on the outside and everyone probably on the inside, of the organization too, of like here is our overall mission vision, and then here is our specific mission and vision, within heroic deeds, chaplain as well. So I'm excited for you guys to work through that, and yeah, reach out for any help you guys need through that process.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Teresa, as we're kind of wrapping up the hour, I know we got started a little bit late, but I saw Gil jump on as well. Gil, we're still recording. We did the presentation. We did record it. We can share that with you as well. But just kind of while we have a little bit of time here, and yeah, Eric, jump off and take off whenever you need to. But let us know if you have any other questions. But Gil, also let Teresa know if you have any specific questions around marketing, that maybe you could, while you have her here for a moment, that you could ask her and she might be able to speak to for you as well.
Well, I do have a question, and I'm sorry, it didn't occur to me till just now that it was 1 o'clock Eastern, which is noon my time.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm like daylight savings time going to church. Uh,
Yeah.
so Teresa, quick question, and if you want to percolate on this a while and get back to me, I can message you my email. But uh, we've got a really simple tagline, but
Mhm.
the uh, but the message is a little bit more complicated. And so we say that we serve and support first responders. We say all first responders, but unlike a lot of Mission First Alliance partners that we have, um, we serve we define first responder as anyone who runs toward danger to help. So we include military first responders, civil first responders like police, firefighting, EMT, and spiritual first responders like pastors and missionaries.
Mm.
So, so the question I have uh, is there a way that just pops out in your head, or if you'd like to stew on this for a while, that'd be great too. Um, I'd like to figure out a way to uncomplicate that, I guess. Um,
Mhm.
because when we say first responders, everybody always thinks civil, but uh, we've got a little bit bigger population, but they're all the crazy thing is they're all the same population.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. First of all, I love that about your vision of what you consider to be a first responder as anyone who runs toward danger. Um, I'm just thinking it through because in my mind, I always come back to first responders is the phrase that people will most identify with. It's the phrase that people would search for. People wouldn't search for uh, help for people who run toward danger. They would search for help for first responders.
Right.
Or whatever specific category they fall into. Um, and so it made me come back to, because it sounds like what you're talking about is we've got a tagline that works. We're kind of looking for simplifying and moving into more of that elevator pitch kind of. How do I condense that and be able to share it quickly? Am I understanding right what you're asking?
Yes.
Okay.
Just because um, we want them to see that we're serving a lot broader population uh, than the tagline really implies.
Right.
Uh, so figure out an elevator pitch, or even a second line of the tagline that could convey that. Um, I think would be awesome. I mean, we don't have a lot of trouble uh, passing on our message anyway, but I'm always looking to make it simpler and more effective.
Yeah, because when you say first responders, for most people, they're going to automatically assume it's that smaller group. So I understand what you're asking. Like, how do I expand that to others? I wonder if you could just simply say first responders and tell me what your tagline is.
Crossroads Mission Care provides support and service to all first responders.
Did you say all first responders?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm wondering if we should drop the first and just say responders.
I think that you should just drop both first and responders and simply say support to everyone who runs toward danger or all who run toward danger. Um, and let the first responders come through in the rest of your messaging.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And I know that's counterintuitive because everything that I would tell you as someone who studied search engine optimization for several years, I would tell you that no first responders needs to be in there for you to rank. Um, Thinking about like your digital stuff, but you'll have enough of that in there, I think. When you're dealing out, like if you're looking at your website when you're building it out, you can always put like in the people that you serve, put in there that it's first responders and military and evangelists and all the people that you listed. You can list all of those in a way that it will still get seen. You'll do that even with like partner people that you partner with, folks who are following you. um, I think that that'll happen a lot easier. First responders, I think, is going to be, because it has a connotation of what everyone believes that they mean by that phrase. That phrase isn't big enough for what you're doing. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah, because I've been working on grants all morning, and the populations in all the search engines, they have veterans, but they don't have first responders at all.
Right.
So finding grants uh, to serve first responders has been problematic, but I think that's going to change. But I'm ready for it to be done now, so that I can go ahead and do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that when it comes to looking for things for grants, you might consider things like I don't know though, because you're not finding a grant for you to personally provide crisis management. You're looking to support those who do. Um, running toward danger, running toward trouble. Yeah. Mm. I need to percolate on that one a little bit about what you'd look for grants.
Okay.
That would
Well,
meet that.
I put my email in the chat, so because I want to be respectful of your time.
Absolutely. Let me think on that a little bit, and I'll email you when I've got some ideas that I can
Okay.
share on that one. That one
Awesome.
that one involves some thought.
Well, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad I initiated some unusual thought processes today.
No, these are the kind of puzzles I love. I absolutely love helping someone develop their messaging, find the right words to convey exactly what it is that they're doing so that it is clear and it's concise and it's repeatable and it actually provokes the responses that we want and engages with the right audience. That solving those kind of puzzles is actually what gets me out of bed every day.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, that's really good, Gil, and I hear what you're wrestling with, and I think that that is a huge challenge for a lot of organizations, is just having that really, really clear message. And I think that even for the last 2 years of Mission First Alliance, we've been wrestling with that, and I think it'll be something of an ongoing, process too. But and we're always still learning and open, but where like nowadays it feels like that 7 words or less tagline that just catches, exactly who you are and what you do. But then there being a little bit more that expands on, to explain, what you do, is like so important. And I think that where we've landed with Mission vs. Alliance as like 7 word or less tagline is that bringing real hope to first responders. And at first, that almost like doesn't feel like it fits. It feels like in Mission First Alliance, we are trying to bring all the alliance members together and pour into the leaders so they're all more effective. But like when we boil it down, if all of the organizations and chaplains and churches and everyone's more effective, then we are bringing that real hope, which is our ultimate goal, to first responders. So it's like that tagline is bringing real hope to first responders that we've kind of gravitated towards. And then, like, we'd expand on that by saying through a gospel focused first responder alliance, and then even expand on a little bit more, by uniting and equipping all who have a heart to reach them for Christ. And then that almost kind of like where we're sharing too, that kind of that all, I think for us, like, you have to keep asking those questions of like, well, who is that and what is that and who is our audience and who are we really trying to serve or to reach or to speak to? And I feel like that all for us within the alliance really just boils down to like leaders. Whether it's an organizational leader, whether it's a chaplain as a leader, whether it's a leader in a church, whether it's a first responder who's a leader and living out their faith and sees the need to bring Christ to their coworkers. So I don't know. So it's like there's like so many like layers to the onion that you like peel back
Hmm.
and you feel like you've got it boiled down, and then you're like, I think I could boil this down even more, and I think I could make this even clearer. And I think that like so much too is like there's times that it sounds really good to me or to Katrina in our own heads, and then we talk to Teresa or we talk to others, and they're saying like, I don't know, like I'm not sure that that's clear. I don't think that what you're saying is what you're really conveying. So really getting a lot of like outside input too. But I think that where you start to have some of that clear messaging, it makes it so much easier to everything you're doing, on
Yeah.
your website or marketing or social media or an event or a grant or whatever it is.
Well, and for us, the tagline is almost just the foot in the door, just because uh, there's no way a tagline can convey everything that we're doing. So once they go, oh, tell me more, then it's like, well, yes, we do stress management workshops and coaching, and we're building a retreat center, and yeah,
Yes, and I think that that's the way Teresa was explaining even like the elevator pitch that yeah, having a sentence or two or three, and then almost reading the situation and the person and the environment where many times yes, it's just the beginning of the conversation with that tagline or a short elevator pitch. But yeah, I agree completely, and it just opens up because there is so much more behind it. Did anyone else, Eric or Gil, is there anything else you guys wanted to bring up or ask Teresa about while you have her here before we conclude this time? And then Teresa, you guys can follow up with Teresa directly. She can follow up with you guys. And I just appreciate her time here, making herself available. Is there anything else you guys wanted to ask or discuss?
Well, I wanted to preemptively apologize to her because I might be gum on her shoe for a while.
No, that's okay. You reach out and ask all the questions. I just pulled up the screen on the share that's got my contact information down there. So, whatever way is best for you guys, reach out, ask questions. Um, yeah, like definitely, like feel free to reach out. I'll be happy to help all that I can.
I did have a question. So I have not ever dipped my foot into the grant world. Um, is it safe to assume that the clear messaging is incredibly important to that end? And if so, how are people navigating the faith-based piece with integrity, but also understanding limits of some of the grants?
To answer that question, the messaging is vitally important to being able to get a grant. And Jeremy can probably talk a little bit more because he's been working with some grant writers and pursuing grants. But there are grants out there available that are for faith based people. You might have to look a little harder for those, but there are some out there which helps you to stay true to your in the integrity of your work. Um, Jeremy, you want to speak to for other grants that maybe aren't necessarily for faith based? You want to speak to that any?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and sounds like that's something that Gil's working on, and he can probably speak to that too. And but yes, we do have a faith-based grant writer that the Lord just made that connection for us at the end of last year, so not that long ago. And we have learned a lot through that process. And I think our grant writer is going to do something like this too, to do like an hour webinar to be able to share a presentation, answer questions and stuff like that as well. But yes, there is a lot that goes into which we're learning. And the phrase that they use is to be grant ready as an organization, to be grant ready. And some of that is your clear messaging, your clear mission statement, vision, purpose, your clear budget, your clear organizational like documents, board, and strategic plan. And, so there's some pieces that really are important to have in place before you start applying for grants. And then to speak to faith-based or not faith-based grants, or first responder grants. Sounds like Gil's in the middle of researching that, and maybe he can even speak to that because we're just starting to scratch that surface. Yes, it's probably a smaller pool once you start seeking faith-based grants, and then it's probably a smaller pool, even smaller once you're seeking grants for first responders. Um, so it is a smaller pool, but I think that if you have integrity and you know who you are and you know what your mission and vision and organization is about, and you can stay true to that, then like, you're just representing that and seeking, with what's out there and available. And you get to be in the driver's seat as to what grants you put in for. And what one of the pieces we're learning is so much of the work goes into just the research side of it, of what are the right grants that fit, because once you start to get into the understanding it, you might realize that they might not actually fit, or what are the requirements, or what are the expectations, along with that grant. So yes, there is a lot to being like grant ready, and then there's a lot to researching and applying for grants. And I think that the last piece of the last comment I would say, as I've been talking and doing a lot of training as well, in terms of fundraising and grants. I think that as I've heard it explained, that as an organization, it's wise to seek out grants and that be a revenue source. but obviously not the only revenue source, and can almost treat it as like a cherry on top revenue source. To where, yes, you could be seeking them out and you can, that could be a portion of your revenue, but not it be uh, maybe your normal operational budget being covered by those grants. So anyway, those are some of my thoughts, but I do want to provide a webinar like this in the future on grant writing and have our faith-based grant writer give a presentation to speak to it. Gil, is there anything else that you want to add as you guys are in the middle of doing it all?
Well, we've gotten faith-based grants and non-faith-based grants, and they're both almost identical in the fact that what Jeremy just said is absolutely true. We've got a folder on our desktop that's just grant information, so that we basically just cut and drag for the different grants that were, because most of them want the same thing, and several of them require memberships and things like givingmatters.com, so that they're basically letting givingmatters.com vet you, and they just go to your profile and look it over once you apply. Um, but uh, but the biggest thing that we found is I found companies that that somebody had an in with, and I thought, oh, I'll go with them, and maybe we can squeeze ourselves into their definitions of what they're looking for, and that just never ever worked.
Yeah.
So we basically, for the secular folks, they want to be able to say, hey, this is how we're helping first responders. We're supporting Crossroads Mission Care. Whereas the faith-based ones, they get it. This is an outreach for us, for our population. So they're like, oh, well, we're helping with the mission. They get this, that we're missionaries, so they give that way. Um, so it's it once you get started, the hardest part is the research, because you go to websites like Grant Watch and Grant Station and the Shareway and places like that, and they've got search engines to help you find things. But once you find the things, that even though they filtered them for you, uh, they they say, oh, this is only for Memphis, Tennessee area, or this is only for uh, children who have lost a first responder in the line of duty, or they narrow it down, and you have to go, oh, well, that doesn't count for me, da, da, da. Or uh, like uh, like we're looking at Firehouse Subs, and they only give grants for equipment, and it's like, wow, okay, how can we take advantage of that? What can we do? And it's like, oh, well, we could use this and this. Um, so anyway, yeah, and I'm looking forward to hearing a faith-based grant writer talk, just because I'm all for putting more tools in our toolbox.
Yeah. That's good. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, maybe I will see if I can schedule that one next in the next month or two on grant writing. And then I also have someone on fundraising that is a fundraising coach that we have worked with even a little bit, just to speak to the broader things on either personal fundraising, event fundraising, monthly donors versus major donors, and making the ask. And then we also have someone that is willing to do this webinar type presentation to Alliance members on organizational, like HR, some of the just some of the pitfalls and some of the things that organizations should be aware of, even nonprofits, for whether it's hiring or payroll, or just kind of the behind the scenes operational stuff, benefits, whatever it might be, that would love to speak to. He's also does bookkeeping. Yes, we want to continue to provide some of these things to Alliance members, to continue to equip and support all the organizations to be more effective for what God has called them to do. So look for more of these in the near future. This is just the first one, and I know that there were a bunch of people that said they weren't able to make it, so we are recording this and making this available, and we'll do that for the future ones as well. So with that, I'll just kind of close it. But I think you guys have Teresa's contact information, and please reach out to her. She is a wealth of knowledge, and I just appreciate her heart for the Lord and her heart for ministry and her heart for first responders. And when she says she'd make herself available, she really, really will, and is a great sounding board on a lot of these things.